My stepmom made me break up with my girlfriend so my stepbrother could date her. 12 years later, he showed up on my doorstep and revealed something that made me question everything. I was 21 when my dad told me I had to break up with my girlfriend for my stepbrother's sake. At first, I laughed. I thought it was some awkward dad joke. But it wasn't. What he said next changed everything and ended what little relationship I had with my father for good. My name's Eric. I'm 33 now, and I haven't spoken to my dad or anyone in his household for the last 12 years. And it all started the day he remarried. My parents divorced when I was 11. They'd grown distant for years, but when they finally told me it was over, I still felt like the world had collapsed. My mom, Jennifer, was warm, patient, always ready to talk through my feelings. My dad, Richard, on the other hand, was the life doesn't owe you anything type. He never yelled, but he rarely listened, either. Naturally, I clung to my mom. I only saw my dad a few weeks each summer, which was fine with me. But when I was 15, everything changed. My mom died in a car accident in Salem, Oregon. One moment she was here. The next, I was being shipped off to live with a man who barely knew me and a woman who didn't want me there. Her name was Denise. 49, stylish, cold, and fiercely protective of her son, Justin. Justin was 17 when I moved in. I was 2 years older, grieving, and completely unprepared for the minefield I'd stepped into. Denise tried to play mom. She told me when to go to bed, what chores to do, even how to grieve. But no matter how hard she tried, she wasn't my mother. And she never would be. The worst part was how openly she favored Justin. She pulled strings to get him more playing time on the football team, lobbied for him to get a lead in the school play, and bragged about him like he was auditioning for sainthood. To his credit, Justin didn't ask for any of it. He even seemed embarrassed by her sometimes. But that didn't stop him from enjoying the perks. So, I stayed quiet, did my time, and waited for college. I got into Portland State, only 2 hours away, and decided to live at home to save money. I paid rent, helped with groceries, and tried not to stir the pot. Then I met Megan. She was in my psychology class. Big laugh, bigger brain, the kind of person who made you feel heard just by looking at you. We started dating my second semester. I brought her over a few times. And that's when everything started to unravel. Justin acted weird from the start. Too interested. Too complimentary. He'd linger when Megan was over, ask her strange questions, text her under the guise of group project stuff, even though he wasn't in her class. Megan told me it made her uncomfortable. I talked to Justin privately and told him to back off. He promised he would, but didn't. Then came the day my father sat me down at the kitchen table. He looked tired, like he didn't want to do this. "Eric," he said, "we're grateful you've been helping around the house. But Denise and I think Megan is becoming a distraction." I raised an eyebrow. A distraction for who? For Justin. He's not been himself. His grades are slipping. He's stressed. We just think maybe it would be best if you ended things with Megan. For the family's sake. I blinked. Laughed. "Wait, you want me to dump my girlfriend because your stepson has a crush he can't manage? It's about Justin's health, Eric. He's not coping well." I stared at him in disbelief. "You're serious?" He nodded. "We all have to make sacrifices." I stood up. "Well, here's mine. I'm moving out." The next morning, I packed my things and left. I moved in with Megan and cut off contact. I changed my number, blocked them all. I was done. We scraped by those first few years. I worked nights, took on freelance gigs, and Megan stood by me through all of it. We got married in 2017. Bought a home in Tacoma. We both have careers we love now. And we're trying for a baby. I hadn't thought about Justin or Denise in years, until last week, when Justin showed up on our doorstep. When I opened the door and saw Justin standing there, I didn't recognize him at first. He looked like a ghost of the teenager I used to know. Gaunt face, sunken eyes, hair pulled back into a messy ponytail. The hoodie he wore had frayed cuffs, and there was a smell on him that made me think of bus stations and cigarette smoke. He gave me this hesitant half-smile like he wasn't sure if I was about to slam the door in his face or hug him. "Eric," he said, voice gravelly. "Can we talk?" I should have said no. I should have told him he was 12 years too late. But something in his eyes, raw, familiar, made me step aside. We sat on the couch, awkward as hell. The last time we'd been in the same room, he'd been the reason I left my dad's house. Now here he was, sitting in mine like it hadn't been over a decade. "I've seen your place online," he said, glancing around. Looks even better in person. I didn't respond. I just waited. And eventually, he got to the point. I came here to apologize. That got my attention. For what exactly? I asked, arms crossed. He swallowed. For how things ended. For Megan. For Mom. For not standing up for you. I stared. You didn't just not stand up for me, Justin. You let them drive me out. He nodded slowly. I know. I was a coward. Then he told me everything. Apparently, Denise had orchestrated the whole thing. She convinced my dad that Megan was emotionally destabilizing for Justin, that their relationship with me was causing Justin's breakdown. She framed it as a necessary sacrifice. Remove the trigger to protect the child. I wasn't the son anymore. I was the threat. I didn't know she was going to make Dad talk to you like that, Justin said. When I found out, I thought, maybe it was for the best. I was jealous, confused, and Mom made it seem like you were the one tearing everything apart. You still benefited from it, I said. She got rid of me so you could go back to being her golden boy. He winced. Yeah, I know. Justin explained that after I left, Denise practically deleted me from existence. She cleared out my room, told neighbors I'd chosen to go live with friends, and never mentioned me again. But the house got weird. Tense. My dad grew quiet. Justin started spiraling. Grades dropped. He isolated. And eventually he flunked out of college. By the time he realized how deep he'd sunk, Denise had already started blaming him for her disappointment. So he left. That was 10 years ago. Since then, he'd been drifting. Couch surfing. Picking up temp jobs. Sleeping in cars and hostels. He hadn't had a stable roof over his head in years. Now he wanted to rebuild in my city. I just need a shot, he said. A place to stay for a bit. Maybe help getting work. I stared at him. You want a recommendation? For what job exactly? I'll do anything, he said. I just need a foothold. And I figured. I don't know. Maybe you'd help. Because we're brothers. That word, brothers, hung in the air like a bad taste. You think I owe you that? I asked quietly. He looked down. I don't know what you owe me. I just know I don't have anyone else. There was a long silence. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. He'd never reached out. Never apologized. Never asked about me or Megan. And now he was here, asking for help like it was owed. I should have said no. But part of me saw the scared kid underneath the man sitting across from me. The kid who'd lived in the shadow of a controlling mother. The kid who never asked to be the favorite. Let me think about it, I said finally. He nodded. Stood. I'm staying at a motel for a couple nights. Room 204. Just if you decide. He was halfway to the door when Megan came home. She froze when she saw him. What is he doing here? She asked, voice low sharp. I was just leaving, Justin muttered. He slipped out before she could say more. We sat in silence for a while. He wants you to help him? She asked finally. I nodded. And? I don't know. Megan shook her head. Eric, that man helped destroy your relationship with your father. And mine with you. I know. You don't owe him anything. I know, I repeated. But I wasn't sure I believed it. I hadn't planned on digging through the past that night. I just wanted sleep. But around 2 a.m., after Megan had gone to bed still visibly shaken from Justin's visit, I found myself wide awake, heart restless, brain on fire. There was this itch I couldn't scratch. Something about Justin's story didn't sit right. He said he found me through social media, but I keep my accounts locked down. Private. No tags. And he'd never once liked a post or sent a message. So how had he known where to find me, my address, my job, even the name of our dog? The garage was cold and smelled like motor oil and cardboard. I flicked on the light, half expecting to just stand there a minute and go back inside. But something pulled my eyes to the corner shelf. An old moving box, sealed with brittle yellowing tape, marked in black Sharpie. Robert, personal/legal. My dad's name. I had taken it with me when I left that house 12 years ago, stuffed it in the back of the U-Haul with the rest of my rushed escape. I hadn't opened it once. Until now. I sat on a plastic crate and tore off the tape. Inside was a mess. Bills, insurance forms, old family photos, some of which I hadn't seen since before Mom died. I flipped through them in silence until I found a thin manila envelope tucked beneath a tax return. My full name was written across the front, in Denise's handwriting. It felt like a punch. Inside were dozens of printed emails. I didn't understand at first. The subject line said things like concerning Megan, Eric's influence, and family well-being. As I scanned the first few pages, a slow horror began to set in. They were between Denise and a woman named Amanda, an old friend of hers from her PDA days, according to one email. The timestamps were from my sophomore year of college. Denise hadn't just disapproved of Megan. She had been tracking her. The emails detailed things like Megan's class schedule, her Facebook posts, where we went on dates. One message included a screenshot of a private post Megan had shared only with close friends. Another contained notes about Megan's parents. Denise described them as unstable and a liability. And then, toward the end, came this chilling message. Robert's finally starting to see it. I just need a little more time to help him understand that girl is toxic for our family. He'll come around. I read the sentence 3 times. My dad hadn't come to me with an ultimatum on his own. He was manipulated, and I'd walked away from my entire family thinking he'd chosen that path himself. When I went back inside, Megan was sitting at the kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through her phone. She looked up. "You okay?" I dropped the envelope onto the table between us. She read in silence. Her face went pale, then flushed, then fell completely. When she looked up again, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She was trying to destroy me. I nodded. She nearly did. Then Megan asked the one question I hadn't considered. "Do you think Justin knew?" That shook me, because I wasn't sure. And the answer mattered more than I wanted to admit. Flashback. A memory I had buried. I was 16. It was raining hard that night. I came home from a study session with Megan and walked past Denise's office. Her door was cracked, and I could hear her on the phone. "She's a problem. We need to get her out of the picture before it gets worse," she was saying. I thought she was talking about a neighbor or a coworker. I didn't think twice. But now I realize she was talking about Megan. Even back then, she was setting the trap, and I'd walked straight into it. The confrontation. The next morning, I texted Justin. "Come by. 9 a.m. alone." He showed up exactly on time, nervous again. Same hoodie, same wary expression. I didn't waste words. I handed him the stack of emails and told him to sit. He read them slowly, brows furrowing deeper with each page. I watched his eyes widen. His lips moved silently, like he was whispering the words aloud in disbelief. When he reached the last page, he looked up at me. "I didn't know," he said, voice quiet, almost hoarse. "Eric, I didn't know she was doing this." I didn't speak. I knew she didn't like Megan. I figured she was being her usual manipulative self, but this? I swear to God. Man, I had no idea it went this far. I believed him. But belief wasn't the same as trust. "You still let me leave?" I said. Justin bowed his head. "I know." Final twist of part 3. Just as he was getting ready to leave, Megan walked into the room with her phone in her hand. Her face was pale. She held up the screen. An unknown number had sent her a message just minutes ago. "You thought you won, didn't you? Some ghosts don't stay buried." Justin's face drained of color. "That's her," he said quietly. "That's Mom's number. We didn't sleep that night. Not really." Megan was glued to her phone, waiting for another message. I kept pacing the hallway, retracing a dozen old conversations in my head. My father's voice, Denise's smile, even the way Justin used to stare at his shoes when I brought Megan around. All of it pulsed like background noise I couldn't shut off. The burner message hit deeper than either of us admitted aloud. Not because of what it said, but because it sounded exactly like her. Cold, condescending, calculated. By sunrise, I called out of work. Megan did too. We weren't about to let this go. Not again. Justin texted first. "We need to talk. I found something." He arrived carrying an old cardboard box. Inside was a tattered leather-bound journal with reflections embossed on the cover. Denise had made him write in it after I left. Therapy, she called it. Emotional healing. We sat in the kitchen flipping through it, and my stomach turned with every entry. Eric poisoned this family. Laura was a wedge. Trust only Mom. Page after page, it read like a cult indoctrination log. "She made me write that stuff every week," Justin said, voice flat. I didn't even believe it half the time, but I wanted peace. Megan skimmed a few entries and closed the journal. This wasn't peace. This was grooming. Then she looked up, eyes steel. "I want to see her." I blinked. "Megan, she already found us, Eric. Do you really think this ends if we just ignore it?" She was right. Denise had already crossed every line. The only way to stop this was to walk straight through it. Justin made the call. Apparently, Denise now lived in a gated senior community under the alias and Foster, a place built for curated retirement, with smiling concierge staff and pastel furniture. She hadn't known Justin still kept tabs on her, let alone that he'd spoken to us. That gave us an edge. We drove there at dusk. The air felt thick as we passed the security gate. I hadn't seen her in over a decade, but the moment she opened the door, it all came rushing back. The precise bob haircut, the controlled smile, the chill beneath her surface. "Eric," she said sweetly, as if we were stopping by for Sunday tea. "Megan." Still tagging along, I see. I didn't respond. Megan didn't blink. "We know about the burner," I said. Her smile twitched. "We know about the emails, the surveillance, everything." She stepped aside wordlessly and let us in. Her apartment was eerie. Too clean. Like a stage set someone forgot to act in. We sat in stiff chairs. Denise poured tea, still keeping up the illusion of normalcy. "You've finally come to confront the monster," she said with mock cheer. "No," Megan said deadpan. "We came to see how far you've actually gone." Denise's tone sharpened. "You destroyed this family. Both of you." "You destroyed it," I said. "You drove your husband to silence. You turned Josh into a shell of himself. You turned me into a stranger." She didn't flinch. "I protected Josh. You abandoned him." Megan leaned forward. "By stalking me? By forcing Eric out of his home? You didn't protect anyone. You just wanted control." For a long moment, Denise didn't speak. And then, beneath the veneer, something cracked. "I did what I had to do," she said, voice suddenly brittle. "This family needed structure. Discipline, not some artsy girlfriend turning everything upside down." There it was. Her truth. Ugly and small. Megan stood up slowly. "Say one more thing about me," she said. "Try it." Denise's mouth opened, then closed. And for the first time, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. Not ours. Hers. As we turned to leave, a red folder on her desk caught my eye, partially hidden under a stack of papers. I paused. "Don't touch that," she said sharply. I picked it up. Inside, legal forms. Drafts of power of attorney. A partially filled out will. One page naming me, not Josh, as her medical proxy. "What is this?" I asked. She stayed quiet. "She thought she could rope you back in," Megan muttered. "Same way she tried with Josh." At that, Denise rose from her chair. "You owe me," she said. "After everything I did to keep our family from falling apart. You owe me your loyalty." Justin met us in the parking lot. I handed him the folder. He read in silence. "She's rewriting the will?" he asked. "She already rewrote the past," I said. "Why stop there?" On the way back, Megan didn't speak. At one point, she reached across the console and took my hand. "I thought facing her would feel like power," she said quietly. "But it just feels sad." "She's already lost," I said. "She just doesn't know it yet." That night, we stood on the back porch as the wind rattled the trees. I told Megan something I had never said aloud. I used to imagine going back, fixing it, apologizing, rebuilding. She looked at me, eyes warm. "You did. You built this. That's what matters now." It wasn't a letter. It was a confession. For pages, both sides, no breaks, just one long unraveling of everything she'd buried. She started with Josh, or rather, with why she really wanted me gone. "It was never about Megan," she wrote. "Not fully." I felt my chest tighten. Josh started asking questions when he was 10, about a letter he found. One I wrote to a man named Stephen. He saw the name, the dates. He asked if Robert was really his father. I told him it was nothing, but he never believed me. Stephen, a name I'd never heard, yet somehow instantly recognized as the center of every lie. Denise kept going. "Robert never knew. He thought Josh was his son." But I panicked. When Josh started digging, I redirected. "I blamed his spirals on you. If he hated you, he'd stop asking about Stephen. You were the distraction I needed." I read it twice. She'd used me, deliberately, to keep her secret safe. And she'd done it while smiling in my face. Then came the kicker. "I won't tell him. Not now. But he should know the truth, and not from me. You owe him that." Justin came over that night. We handed him the letter. He read it with both hands clenched, knuckles white. When he finished, he didn't speak for a full minute. Then, "So I'm not Robert's son?" Megan looked him dead in the eye. "That doesn't define you." I added, "You're not the result of her secret. You're the result of what you chose after it." He nodded slowly. She stole everything from me. My identity. My choices. And now she wants me to clean it up? He slid the letter back across the table. She doesn't get to rewrite the past. Not anymore. Justin blocked her. Every number. Every email. Everything. He stopped looking back. Got a new job in town. Started night school. This time for something he actually wanted. Architecture. Said it felt like the first time he was building something real. And Megan and I? We decided not to speak of Denise again. Some people don't deserve chapters. Just a period. A full stop. 2 months later, Justin sent us a photo. Him in front of a local community college sign, half smiling, holding his first-class schedule. No caption. No explanation. He didn't need one. We just sent back a heart. Later that night, I looked at Megan and said, I used to think healing meant hearing, I'm sorry. She didn't hesitate. Sometimes healing just means they don't get to control the ending.